Welcome back to the conclusion of our interview with Michael Sacca, president of Crew. How do you go from waiting tables and a few short years later being president of a major organization? Michael will tell you his story, as well as how to make the decision to end a startup.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast
with your host, Thor Conklin.
Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Who's holding you accountable? Many will answer, myself. Well, that only goes so far. You'll do more for others than you'll do for yourself. If you're not getting the results that you want, need, and desire, it comes down to your accountability. If you're ready to stop dabbling and really play full out, head on over to thorconklin.com and under services, check out our real accountability system. This is not for the timid or weak of heart. This is only for those individuals that are truly committed to taking their game to the next level. If you had to guess or maybe even know, how did Michael become Michael? Did you have mentors growing up? How did you get to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I think it was a lot of dumb luck. But no, I think there's a journey, right? And I started off as a designer, and I think everyone has their own journey and their own skill set that starts to come together. And so starting off as a designer, building an agency, I learned how to sell. Learning how to sell gave me this opportunity at Crew. And because of that, I can now or are now running the organization. Well, time will tell if I'm any good at it. But I think everyone has their own path to get there. And so for me, it's always been having concentrated time doing different skills, because the clear path to president doesn't always come from graphic designer. But I think because of the necessities that were put in front of me in terms of having to generate business, having to do sales around that graphic design skill, and then having the opportunity to work with larger and larger companies, like we had clients like GE and Scholastic and Nike. So being able to negotiate with companies at that scale, it gave me the skill set to do it for a budding startup at Crew, and to be able to grow with the team. And so I really see each kind of milestone as a stepping stone to get to where I am today.
Now, Crew went out and raised, I saw in one of your publications, about $11 million in funding. Mm-hmm. What are some of the lessons that you learned through that process, and what worked, what didn't work, and what advice do you have for people that are looking to raise funds?
Yeah, so I can't talk specifically about Crew, but I can talk about my opinion on fundraising.
Yes, please.
Simply because I didn't do the fundraising at Crew.
Okay.
Since I was on the sales side. But I think fundraising is a tool, but you have to know the game that you're playing. And so if you're going to go out and raise funds for your company, you are bringing people into your company who will have opinions and do have goals for themselves, for their money, right? They're not giving you money just to operate your business. They want a return. And that return can sometimes come at the cost of your vision. And so just like bringing on a co-founder, just like bringing on a team member, you have to vet your investors as well, as they're vetting you. Whether they want to give you money, you need to know whether you want their money, because for better or worse, once they write that check, they are now a part of your business. They're in your inbox. They have opinions at your board meetings, and so I think it's important to know who you're raising the capital from and why you're raising it and what the goal is for the company. Because if your goal is to especially in today's economy, if your goal is to have your company for 10, 20 years, raising capital might not be the best setup unless you have investors that are willing to take something like dividends, or or they're just there so that you'll buy back their shares one day at a higher evaluation. Because if not, and you're not on the same page, you might have to, say, sell your business before you're ready, or you might be forced to do an acqui-hire before you get to implement that big idea that you've been working towards.
Yeah, they definitely want to return, and they want to put that capital to use somewhere else and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Tell us about a time where you needed to either start something or stop something, and you really didn't have all the information that you needed, and you just kind of had to go on faith or gut. Tell us about that decision and why you went either left or right.
Yeah. I could talk about, so I had a startup in between the agency and Crew. And it was this idea that we could organize companies' data internally and be able to give reporting up to the CEO. And we'd be able to automate a lot of tasks. And I was working with a really fantastic developer. We gave ourselves about 6 months. And after 6 months, we really didn't get that far. We had done a lot of talking, a lot of planning. But in the end, we hadn't made the progress that we wanted to. And we were basically faced with, do we do this for another 6 months to a year with no money, right? Self-funding it on this kind of long shot idea that's not proven in the marketplace, or do we focus on something else? And, in the end, I chose to go to Crew, and he chose to start his own business. He's now doing $1 million a year in revenue, and I'm the president of Crew. I think we made the right choice. But at the time, faced with the unknown, it was a really hard choice to shut down something that we had really poured our hearts into for that 6 months. But we really, working together, we weren't as effective as we thought we would be.
Yeah, it's always difficult, I think, to move from something that's still good to get the great. And it's not easy. I'm always trying to share either strategies or technology or tools or psychology that peak performers use. Obviously, you're a top peak performer. What are some of the things that you implement in order to get the results that you get?
Yeah, I think knowing when to delegate is the most important of anyone looking to be productive and to perform at a high level. Whether you want to move up in an organization or you want to grow your own business, knowing when to delegate certain tasks, but to delegate them in a manner that is respectful of the person you're delegating them to, and how do we lead people so that they're doing the quality of work that we've accustomed that we hold ourselves to, right? So like you mentioned, cloning yourself, right? Most CEOs would love to clone themselves because it also means that the quality of their work will be at the level that they expect it to. But when we're delegating, we can't always we can't micromanage every aspect of everything that everyone does. And so there's a level of respect that comes when we're delegating. How do we delegate? How much detail do we give? And how much freedom do we give to those people that we're delegating the task to, so that they still feel ownership? Because no one really wants to just do your busy work. Finding the balance and your own style of how you give ownership to others through delegation can produce the best results. And honestly, in the end, we all win. They feel good for the work that they're doing. And if it's your business or your initiative internally at a company, you look better when your whole team is successful.
Yeah, that is such an important point because I think so many people get the delegation thing wrong. It's not about just handing something to someone saying, good luck, go do it. You've got to give parameters. You've got to set framework around what you expect, how you expect it. Give them the freedom to run with it, but they need to know, are you looking for this in a day, a week, a month? How do I need to do it? What resources are available to me? You need to check in on them so you just don't go an entire month and nothing gets done because they were confused about something. It's really about walking maybe behind them, I think might be a good analogy, but be in shouting distance. So if they need something, they don't feel like they're all alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what a great leader does. We're on the floor working with them. We may not be all doing the same thing, but it should feel like we're all working together, not that someone is just working for us.
Yeah, or dumping things.
Things on us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was naming a course that we're working on, and one of the names that came up with was "How to Get Your Boss's Job." And,
Right.
because most employees are like, he's not even good at it. I could do a much better job than he could.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe sometimes you could, and maybe sometimes we don't realize how hard that job
Yes,
is.
it is.
We don't really want it.
I was COO of a company that I co-founded. I learned one thing in that process. I am not a COO. If someone said, look, you've got two choices, become a COO or die, well, it's been nice being here. I'm going to take my chances in the afterlife.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah, and some people are just like, yeah, I love that COO thing. Yeah, systems, procedures, documents, SOP manuals, HR. Yeah, I love that. Whew, not me.
Yeah.
I know what I'm good at, and that's not one of them.
It's good to know, though.
Yeah, exactly. My career's over in that area. What we say yes to and what we say no to really defines what we can get done. And it's so difficult sometimes to say no to things, especially good things. How do you determine what to say yes to and no to?
You have to measure the impact, right? And a lot of the times there are good things that become better things when you say no the first time, even. But you have to know the impact of your time and whatever you're saying yes to. I think it varies based on the type of question, yes or no. But we only have so much time in the day. And so there's only so many things that we can realistically accomplish. And there's only so many things that we can accomplish well. And so we need to learn how to prioritize those things that we are going to do well. Like, you probably don't want to prioritize being a COO. But, someone else will. And you saying no to that, even though maybe it's a lot of money, maybe it's a great opportunity and a ton of equity in a company. But knowing that we're not going to do a great job at it, maybe that no will lead to another position or another opportunity. And so I think it's also trusting yourself and knowing that each opportunity isn't a final opportunity. It's a journey. And so just because you say no doesn't mean that there will never be another opportunity that will present itself.
If you had a chance to interview anyone, dead or alive, spend an hour with them, who would it be and what would you ask him or her?
Ooh, that is such a good question. There's so many people. I used to say Beethoven just because I was obsessed with music, and there was something about his passion when he was writing that even though we don't have any necessary recordings of him, but just through his writing, we're able to feel that passion come through. And that's the type of artist that I relate to, is that extremely passionate, often irrational artist. And I've often had to rein it in. But I've always wondered what it would be like to be able to explore that to its furthest logical conclusion. I don't think we often have the opportunity to do that today in our current economy. People are really spread thin. You always have to be marketing. You have to be writing. You have to be doing all aspects of whatever creative endeavor that you're doing. You have to have some level of mastery of. But back then, you used to be able to explore that one skill set to its logical conclusion. And I would love to know what that's like.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. Just be able to spend an entire month just focused on a song.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because today you write a song, but then you have to think about who's going to do the hook and who's going to promote it. And then, I got to go to a club and get arrested, so I get in the news. And, there's so many other things that you have to do just to promote that one song that your time cannot be spent just writing the best song there is. That's why, a lot of our things have simplified down to like the natural, I guess, pop conclusion. But we don't have the same level of depth that I think we used to have in music and art and even discussion.
You said, I believe at the beginning of the interview, you have 2 children?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. If you had 90 seconds to leave them life advice, what would you tell them?
To just trust themselves, that it'll be okay, and to take some risks, because I think I've always succeeded when I've stepped out onto a ledge into the unknown. I think we naturally thrive in those type environments, and even if we don't, we learn a ton about ourselves. And so when we stop doing that, we stop growing. And so I would just tell them to trust themselves and to trust that there will be a conclusion, and it's okay to not always know what that is.
Beautiful. It always amazes me the number of, I call them would-be entrepreneurs, wannapreneurs, I guess is the term nowadays, that I get so often. Well, that's easy for you to say because you know what you're doing. And it's like,
right.
It still makes me laugh to today. It's like, no, we don't always know what we're doing. We're just faking it. And we're moving like we know what we're doing. And that's a big part of it. Just, put your chest up, head up, chest out, and just move like you know what you're doing. I used to work in Lower Manhattan, and we had the 500-year flood. I think it was somewhere back in 1990, 92, something like that. And Wall Street flooded. And our building, Wall Street Plaza, was literally, the lobby was under 2 feet of water. It finally receded, and we had to get our stuff out of the office because the office was going to be shut down. The whole area was going to be shut down for probably weeks. So I'd already booked a hotel room on the other side of Manhattan. Manhattan, believe it or not, kind of slopes up. There's about a 15 feet to 20 feet difference between the sides of the island and actually the middle of the island. You would think it's flat, but it's actually higher up in the middle. So it's like a little hill. So I booked a hotel, had it booked for the next 2 weeks, but we didn't have any files. We had no computers. And they weren't letting anybody in, and the office had no contingency plan. So I went around the back of the building, and I grabbed a clipboard and a hard hat. put the hard hat on, grabbed the clipboard, and I proceeded up to our floor because the elevators in the lobby weren't working. I go up, and I get a dolly. I throw all our computers on there, our files and everything. We did M&A work for private equity firms. And it was like we had deals to get done. And I'll never forget the face of a president of a company. I come down. I don't know how old I am at this point. I'm like a junior executive, or I probably wasn't even an executive at that point. And here I come down the elevator. I mean, no elevators are coming into the lobby. Coming down in the elevator, I've got literally a dolly just overflowing with computers and equipment. And I'm like, all right, guys, I've got the space. We're ready to go to work. It was like nobody stopped me. It's like just move like you belong.
Yep.
And get done what you got to get done.
I tell our team all the time, just convince me that you can handle it. Because even if you can't, but if you can convince me that you can handle it and I don't have to worry about it, that's great. Because you're probably going to figure it out, especially if you've taken on that level of responsibility. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with not knowing every step of the way.
Absolutely. Well, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you and some of the things that you're working on.
Yeah, so you can check out Crew at crew.co and start a project, or if you're a consultant, design and development, you can sign up for projects. You can check out Rocketship FM at Rocketship FM or anywhere in iTunes. And you can reach me at Michael at crew.co.
Awesome. Michael, thank you very much. It was an absolutely incredible interview. Thank you for your time, pleasure. And I look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.